on. We are getting some breaking news from the Delhi High Court as the High Court has dismissed Umar Khalid's bail plea. In fact, CNN News 18 has exclusively accessed the order copy of the court, and according to this, the court in fact has rejected the bail plea of Umar Khalid, and there are protests also that were planned, which is what has been mentioned by the court in the order copy, and this is what is stated. And the court says that this is not of a typical nature. Now, and the order copy further says that this is not a normal protest and it was very much political in nature, and it had, in fact, the democracy, it was devoid of any kind of merit, and far more destructive consequences was something because of which the Delhi riots is what led to, and this is what has been accessed by CNN News 18, where the protests, in fact, that has been slated in that order copy has been underlined to be destructive and injurious and geared towards extremely grave consequences. Let me take this across to my colleague Ananya, who's joining us on the broadcast. Ananya, the Delhi High Court clearly mentioning that the bail plea of Umar Khalid's is devoid of any merit. What further does this order copy release say?
Well, Griha, we have accessed the full order copy of, in fact, Umar Khalid's bail being denied, and a very, very crucial aspect and a very, very crucial point that arises into this particular part of the order, and I'll read it down for you, that the CDR analysis depicts that there has been a flurry of calls that have happened post the riots amongst the appellant, that is Umar Khalid, and other co-accused. The cumulative statements of the protected witnesses indicates that the presence and the active involvement of the appellant in the protest engineered. In fact, what the court is trying to say at this particular point of time is that Umar Khalid had played a very, very active role into the Delhi 2020 riots. He was one of the main conspirators into this case. He was a part of all of the meetings that were held to actually escalate this protest. And remember why I'm saying this, because the defense has continuously been trying to frame a charge that Umar Khalid is being implicated in this case. He was not there when the riots had happened in fact, February 2020. But the court's observations are very, very clear in here, which says that the CDR analysis, he was over the call, available to all of the other co-accused, other co-conspirators. He was always there and talking to all of these people, and was an active part of, in fact, he was also a part of the conspiratorial meetings that were held in December 2019 and till February 2020 at various places, including that of Mr. Prashant Bhushan. So a very, very important order coming in. In fact, it also says that the protests that were there, they were engineered protests, they were orchestrated protests. It was a pre-planned, premeditated conspiracy that had happened, which led to a loss of 53 lives in the riots that broke down in the northeast district of the national capital. Remember that these happened after the passing of the anti-CAA law by the Modi government in 2019. There were flurry of protests, the Shine Bagh protest, whether we talk of those in Jahangirpur area. And a very, very important part of the order also says is that the women had actually attacked police personnel, and it was the epitome of this conspiracy. It was a terrorist act that had happened there, and this order somewhere or the other comes as a precedent when the court would be deciding other bail applications. Remember that the bail application of Sharjeel Imam, of Khalid Safi, and various other people involved in FIR 59 of 2020, which is regarding the larger conspiracy that led to the riots in the national capital in 2020, is concerned, is still pending before the Delhi High Court, and we'll see as to how it is dealt with, because this judgment, the 52-page judgment rendered by, in fact, Justice Siddharth Mridul and Justice Rajneesh Bhatnagar, has gone into a shot and an arm for the prosecution. It would be argued by the prosecution whenever it would be arguing for denying of bail of the other accused into this particular case. So this order, this 52-page order, is somewhere or the other a confirmation to the trial court's order. The trial court's order denying bail to Umar Khalid has now been upheld. Griha.
Also, Ananya, since you're talking about the CDR analysis, of course, which speaks about these flurry of calls of the people who are accused in orchestrating the riots, which is what the argument is. There has to be an argument by the defense's side. What was put forth before the court when it comes to in defense of Umar Khalid?
Well, definitely senior advocate Trideep Pius, who was defending Umar Khalid into this particular case, had constantly argued that the Delhi police's charge sheet is nothing but a script of a web series like Family Man. In fact, he had also gone on to argue that Umar Khalid had no role to play into these protests. He was just a part of these WhatsApp group like DPSG, that is the Delhi protest support group, and other groups, but he had not played any active part. He had not even sent a message on any of these WhatsApp groups. But we have to remember what the court has noted down today. It has clearly noted that he was over calls available to all of the other co-accused, whether it's Sharjeel Imam, whether it's other people like Khalid Saifi, like Safura Zargar. He was actually available to them, he was coordinating with them, and he was a part and parcel to the meetings that were held, which also had people like Yogendra Yadav in it, the photographs of which had also gone viral on social media. And I have also found mention in the charge sheet of the Delhi police, which clearly goes on to show that meetings were held in December 2019 till February 2020, till the riots had broken down in the national capital. And remember, the plan was not only to orchestrate violence in the national capital, but these protests were being organized pan-India. And in fact, the effect of it was seen in February 2020 when 53 innocent lives were lost when the riots had broken down in national capital's northeast district. And in fact, it was done as per the charge sheet, it was done to disrupt the visit of US President Donald Trump, who was the then US President. He had come to India, and that's the reason why these protests were organized, and the anti-CAA law was taken as a background of it. In fact, the prosecution has continuously said that these protests were not organic in nature. These protests were tried to be fueled with a religious feeling, and social fabric of the country was
absolutely
also
a big setback there for Umar Khalid, since we have managed to access that order copy that Ananya has got for us. My colleague Poonam is also now joining us from the newsroom to break down those important points that are part of this order copy. Poonam, over to you.
Right, it's a 52-page order copy that CNN News 18 has accessed, and we're just going to put out a few operative bits as far as what the court observed today while denying bail to Umar Khalid. And I'm just going to read out a few parts of this particular order that we've now accessed. It goes on to say, according to this court, the accusation against the accused at first sight or first impression, which is also what in legal jargon is called prima facie, has to be true to invite the embargo of Section 43D of the Act. These accusations must be good and sufficient on its face to establish a given fact or chain of facts constituting the stated offence. That's what the court goes on to say. Also says that the degree of satisfaction to be recorded by the court for opining that there are reasonable grounds for believing the accusation against the accused is prima facie true is lighter than the degree of satisfaction to be recorded for considering a discharge of application. So the fact that the court went on to say that it cannot be discharged, you cannot give bail to Umar Khalid because the prosecution's case as far as why he should be in jail, why there are reasonable grounds at prima facie, at first value, seems to have some merit.
All right, Poonam, let me take